But oh my gosh, thank you
Yeah.
for joining us. I was so excited to chat with you. Our whole team was like, "Oh my gosh, tell Maureen hello." Um, so they were all excited as well. But for folks that are joining us, Maureen did a program with us at Reactive and is now part of our F&D membership as well. And our team said, "Oh, you've got to talk to Maureen. She just has been doing so many great things since we saw her." So I reached out and you said yes. So thank you. But
I'm
most
looking
people
forward to
want to
it.
hear from you. So Maureen, if you can share a little bit about your story and what has been happening. I know you've had F&D for a long time, so I think people are interested to know more about that.
Yeah, you know, it was 12 years, and I had some surgery and kind of woke up from the surgery with this problem. And of course, the surgeon and the anesthesiologist said, it wasn't our fault. And and then kind of in the first 6 months, I was sent to a vestibular therapist, and that actually made things much worse, as you said in your little intro. Um, Prior to FMD, I was one of those people who probably others thought just had limitless energy, and I was fit and I exercised. And so I sort of just went into a whole new world of um, doing what I could, but I'd say my life was really characterized by the word unpredictability, because mine was paroxysmal, meaning it didn't happen all the time. I had no idea when it was going to happen. I could get up from dinner in a restaurant and really have gait and movement problems, or I could go a month with no problems. So it was really frustrating. And every time I didn't have problems for a while, I thought it was fixed, but I wasn't. And for me, my movement issues meant looking kind of weird. I might go backwards instead of forwards very fast. I could high step march. I could, sometimes I'd stay in one place. Usually my trunk moved. Um, I also started stuttering when I was having problems, which made it even more frustrating. We knew some of the triggers, not that anybody medically had done, but I mean, after 12 years, you kind of begin to see a pattern, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes then it just happened too. So it was really frustrating. And I saw lots and lots of medical professionals, including probably almost a dozen neurologists. We lived in a very large city at the time, teaching hospital. I kind of expected better of them. But I had two completely different diagnoses. Over the 12 years, two neurologists thought it was a rare genetic, there's nothing's in my family, but a rare gene mutation. And others thought it was FND. And, I had read everything I could about FND, and I was okay with it being FND. But then I kept being told it wasn't, and there wasn't anything anybody could do anyway. I actually was told by several neurologists, well, the good news is there's nothing organically wrong with you, so it can get better. But like, great, do you have any ideas? And so I finally decided, when I got the other weird diagnosis about a gene mutation, I found somebody in Denver, and it was quite frankly the first female neurologist I had seen. And I picked them, one, because it's one of the major cities by me, and two, they had a program. Little did I know that by the time I had my appointment, the program had ended.
Oh.
But she was wonderful. And she, unlike the previous neurologist I'd seen a couple years before, when I asked about the retraining programs, he said to me, "Oh, well, they won't work for you because yours is paroxysmal." And so I was like, okay. So I quit looking at them. But anyway, she kind of told me what to look for, and I found you guys. So what really attracted me to you guys was one, I could go and do it in a month. What was offered in Denver, which is where that neurologist was 1 or 2 times a week, and that was 500 miles away. So it didn't seem very easy. And I mean, and you know, the fact that yours was outpatient, it was multidisciplinary, it seemed perfect. And when I first spoke to, who did I first speak to? I can't remember. It just sounded amazing. And I had a little hiccup. I was all scheduled for a year ago, last May, and I got a detached retina and had to have surgery and couldn't travel for 4 months because I live at a high elevation. And then, you know, life happened. So I didn't get to go until last January. But it was well worth the wait.
Yeah. Yeah, even with the hiccup, I'm so glad that you made it. And you know, you brought up a couple of things within that. I've had many clinicians even ask me if somebody has these paroxysmal symptoms, meaning they come and go, and the person may even come to therapy and have no symptoms. Like, is there anything I can do? And absolutely yes. So that's like my soapbox for clinicians. Yes, 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 because we can really assess the underlying pieces of the nervous system.
Exactly.
Which I know you got at Reactive. So you worked with the whole team, and I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about kind of a lot of people ask, like, what exactly do you do with PT, with OT, with psychology, with yoga therapy, and so on? I wonder if you could share some of your favorite things.
Sure. A lot of people ask me that too. So a lot of people have said, well, did you get like brain stimulation? And, you know, I'm like, no. Someone said, did they do a lobotomy? And I'm like, no.
Oh my.
But I think that really I was probably most nervous about the psychotherapy part. Not that I haven't been through psychotherapy, and I did see a doozy of a psychotherapist when I was trying to get the FMD under control myself, who he did nothing helpful. And really, I worked with Steve, and he was just, I mean, Mike, my gosh, he was just wonderful. And really, I learned that I'm really hard on myself and really working on forgiving myself. And, you know, I could share as much or as little as I wanted to with Mike, and it was just great. It was great. PT, because I'd been told that nothing could be done for me if I wasn't having a symptom. Of course, I walked in and I wasn't having a symptom, but they managed to get some symptoms going pretty fast. But and it was just, I mean, it was nothing and it was everything. I mean, I was on a treadmill, I was on a bike, I played games, I talked, I learned how to distract myself in a not weird, positive way. It was just, it seemed like everything we did worked. And, you know, I went into the program having been told that I had neuropathy. No one had a reason for why I had it, but I was told I had it. And I think it was the first day they do this little test with CalPERS, and I think it was like at a 43% is how much feeling I felt in my feet. And on the last day, I had 99% feeling. So it was just my brain and my feet were not talking. So, I mean, that's kind of a really measurable thing that I was just like, wow. And then the other thing is I've had RLS, restless leg syndrome, for over 20, 25 years, and have just been taking new meds and increasing the meds, etc. And I have found I still have a little bit of RLS, but I'm not taking nearly as much medicine. And I have found that the regulation things I'm doing through that I learned at Reactive have really helped that. And Chelsea kind of said, you know, you might find there's a change there, and there really has been. So
Oh,
it's just all that weird movement brain stuff. And I always wondered if they were connected. But so just everything in physical therapy. We walked stairs, we walked outside. As time went on, we did things that used to really bother me, like looking up in the sky and, walking on uneven ground. And so I just kind of retrained my brain to get all those things right. And then in OT, learned a lot of strategies for self-regulating. I did not realize, I'd never even heard the term before. I didn't realize that I'd spent my whole life in one gear, and that I really didn't take the time to self-regulate. And I would say the number one thing is breathing. I had been told by a yoga teacher years ago that I wasn't a good breather, but I really have learned the importance of stopping and taking a couple of deep breaths. And I mean, it just amazes me how much that tiny little thing can change my mood. It can help me go to sleep. It can just sort of reset me wherever I am. It's amazing. And yoga, I did yoga, and I have done it in the past, but always got frustrated because it usually set me off with my FND. And then I was frustrated that I was paying for that, how it goes.
yes.
And I kind of learned that, you know what, just doing a couple of moves a day is okay. I don't have to do an hour-long class. I can do a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night. I can just stop and do something in a chair. So it was really kind of freeing to know that it isn't an all or none kind of a thing, I guess. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that was such an incredible journey through all of the different folks working together with you, and you had some ahas about your sensory system and some measurable changes
Mhm.
as well, which says a lot there about how your brain and body were changing. And I'm curious too, where do you see yourself now? Like, what are you doing now that maybe you weren't doing before?
Um, I am giving myself permission to take care of myself. I'm, um, um, I'm a very goal-oriented person, and it's hard for me to look like I'm not doing something.
Mm.
But just sitting in my little swing chair and listening to the birds is a new way to measure productivity. Just
Wow.
breathing is a new way to measure productivity. So I have a lot of calming activities I do. I'm probably using my computer a lot less and my
Mm.
intellect, a lot less. I don't I don't have to pursue intellectual activities all the time, I guess is
Mm.
saying, and I can just kind of be.
Mhm.
Um, and I was really afraid of coming home because I had this whole month in California. My husband came for the first couple days and he came for the last couple days, but it was mostly just me. And I was just, the whole thing was about me. I was in this cute little tiny house, and I was just like, okay, I can do it here, but what's it going to be like when I go home
Yeah.
to, bills and responsibilities and, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And it is a little bit harder, but I'm just learning that I have to put myself first. And if someone asks me if I want to go do something, even if it's my husband who says, you want to go with me to the grocery store, it's okay for me to say, actually, no, I don't, And that's
Yeah.
pretty huge. I mean,
Yeah.
it's taken me 61 years to not feel like I have to please everybody all the time.
Mm. Mm.
And I think that's pretty, just all of those things just sort of built up inside me, and I didn't know how to get rid of them, I guess. And now I do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. And I know because our team shared a picture of you holding your grandson
Yeah.
and some of your travels. So tell me a little bit like what you're doing life-wise right
You
now.
know, I actually just got back from a solo trip to Virginia, and it, I mean, I've not been able to go through an airport in 10 years without a wheelchair. And something about being in big crowds and I always liken it to a salmon swimming upstream where I'm dodging people and all this kind of stuff. It
Mm-hmm.
just made my movement terrible. And
Mm-hmm.
I, so I couldn't travel alone, certainly. I mean, it was hard. And so, I mean, I was on elevators, escalators, metro. I mean, it was just, it's life changing. Walked, took my grandbaby in a stroller for an hour. Nobody worried about me. I didn't worry about myself. So I just feel like I have a lot more autonomy than I used to. And considering the FND, I still was a fairly, I mean, I'm not a person to sit at home. I still tried to do as much as I could, but that unpredictability aspect of it is gone. I took my walker with me to California and it never left the car. I never needed it, you know, and I used to carry a cane in my purse just in case, and I got it out a lot and I've not needed it. So, I mean, I would say, um, I know that some symptoms may return, but I know I can, you know, I can get them under control. But it's like it's 100% better. I mean, it's just incredible. My husband, I mean, it's wonderful for him too. He's been my number one supporter. He's always been like, don't listen to them. It's not in your head, you know, and he's always been great, but he's had to pick up the slack and
Mm-hmm.
he's not having, and I felt badly about that. And he's not picking up the slack right now. And I mean, we're planning, you know, we're planning another trip to Europe. I've always wanted to walk the Lake District, and I'm actually going to be able to walk it now. And, you know, he's not going to have to worry about me, the bags, a walker, you know, everything. And so it's just really freeing. So,
Yeah, that I mean it brings me to tears, not gonna lie. So I'm gonna try to keep it here together, Maureen. But freeing or freedom was the word that I was hearing and even seeing in your face to travel alone, to do those things, to be with, you know, to push the stroller for an
yeah,
hour. Yeah. um, Things that even if you weren't having symptoms, there was a lingering fear
exactly.
that,
Because I never knew when it was going to pop up, you know.
yeah,
And I mean, I didn't trust myself with a baby, and I certainly wasn't going to put my kids in a position where they were worried. So, you know, but yeah, it's like, uh, it's just, it's wonderful.
yeah, yeah, to be able to live. And now Chelsea's on here and she says the lakes. So you're
Hello.
gonna walk the lakes. I know she is cheering you on there. Now you made the trek across the country. You're in New
I am.
Mexico, right?
Uh-huh,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
my very favorite state to visit. I'm not gonna lie, I love it there. Um, Maybe I'll come visit you
There
someday,
you go.
Maureen. And did you have some hesitations? I mean, it's still a big
You know,
deal to come
uh,
out to California for a
yeah,
month.
you know what? First of all, I'm an Army brat, and we've moved 14 times across the country, my husband and me. I actually started my first job in El Segundo and lived in Torrance. So,
Oh,
granted, it was 100,000 years ago, but so and I have some friends there. So I wasn't nervous about coming out there. What I was nervous about was I had been told that my symptoms might get a lot worse before they got better. And like that second week might be really hard. So I was a little nervous about what that would look like. But it was fine. And I was also a little worried about what I was going to do by myself for a month.
Mm-hmm.
And, January isn't the best time to be in SoCal. So I was there for the torrential rains, etc. But I wasn't lonely. I think the biggest thing for me was expectations. I knew that I wanted to be perfect when I left. I mean, I wanted, everything to be like it used to be. But I was really trying to manage my expectations and think about any kind of healing is better than what I have. And so I didn't anticipate total healing. I mean, that was like the dream, but I was, trying not to, I was trying to imagine that any improvement was worth it, if you. So that's probably the scariest thing, is to I've put my hopes in, I've gotten my hopes up so many times with each new neurologist, only to have them just crushed. So that was probably the scariest part, not the travel and not going across country, but that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, first of all, you speak so eloquently about this journey, and after 12 years of many different clinicians and professionals, you've been on a roller coaster.
That's a good way to describe it. Yep.
And it can make it hard to sometimes to kind of go, okay, well, is this just going to be another one of those things?
Right.
But I think going into it saying, if I can just take one step in a direction and learn something about myself and learn something about my nervous system, and what I love about what you have shared, Maureen, is that you have really taken on a whole new life right now. And you're also saying, I might have symptoms, but I know exactly what to do. Yeah. What are some of those things that you've learned?
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I know that, like, when I was walking my grandbaby, I know if I felt something coming on, I know that all I needed to do was, I could squat. Probably couldn't raise my hands because I was holding a stroller, but I could just squat. That's one of the things I learned in PT. I could breathe. I could do 3 deep breaths, and I could, I usually have a little like rock or something in my pocket, a soft little ocean rock or something. And I could just stop for a minute and, focus on that. I could look around me and name 5 things I see, 4 things I smell, 3 things I hear, or whatever. Just all of those things that worked during PT to instantly stop any kind of movement I had on the treadmill or something. And so I'm very confident that I can stop them. And, prior to reactive, I'm the stubborn sort of person who would try to power through. And I did not realize that made it worse and worse and worse. Whereas if I had just stopped and given myself a moment, or who knows how long back then, so it was like I was my own worst enemy. If I'd been pushing the stroller and it started, I'd just be like, okay, I'm gonna, and I mean, it might have taken me an hour to go 10, half a block, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with danger to myself and the baby. But so those strategies are just priceless.
Yeah. Well, and I just hear so much. First of all, you are speaking like a therapist. I feel like you could run the F&D program, Maureen, because you have so much knowledge and confidence in that you learned these things and they work.
Absolutely. And there was nothing that I said that my therapists at Reactive hadn't seen, heard, and or had an answer to why it happened. You know what I mean? And so it was the first time I just felt validated. I mean, everything I said was that. I mean, I was validated in it. And the fact that nothing was, I didn't have people just looking at me like, or I wonder why you do that to yourself, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. We have seen it all, Maureen. We
Oh, yeah,
have seen
I
it
figured
all.
that out.
um, but somebody else is sharing here too. Neurologist inability to help is so frustrating.
Mhm.
And I think neurologists are frustrated too because there's no medication. There's
Yep.
no like one one thing. It is a the literature is showing this kind of multidisciplinary or transdisciplinary care
Yes.
is helpful. It certainly has helped you, and I wonder too. It's we're doing a training starts this week for other clinicians. We're doing a boot camp for people, and I wonder what kind of message you might share for other healthcare professionals um
Well,
that because you are very wise on this topic, Maureen. I feel like again you could teach the class.
well, you know what? In 12 years, I've kind of been told everything. I think that uh, you said the first thing you said is just because there's no pills or surgery, a lot of neurologists don't want to deal with it or know how to deal with it. I've kind of been told by one neurologist at a major teaching hospital, please don't come back and waste my time. I have patients with real problems. Uh-huh. And
Oh
it,
my gosh.
I've had them imply that I'm just seeking attention. I had one who seemed more interested in taking videos of me than he did in trying to do anything else so he could show his students what distraction looked like. And it made me feel like he thought I was faking it. I now know that, and I always suspected this, that distraction just means my brain has a chance to use the right pathway. um, I guess I would tell them that kindness and understanding go a long way. And as frustrated as they may be trying to care for somebody for whom they don't have all the answers, I'm more frustrated than they are. And, telling me, well, the good news is you can get better, and then not providing me with any resources, and thus making me feel that it's my fault. If I have the power to fix it, then it's my fault. um, I think that 12 years of guilt that I had somehow caused this, that my stress had caused this, that I had one neurologist on the very first visit asked me if I'd been sexually abused as a child within the first 15 minutes of the conversation. And it was like, first of all, that's not appropriate. And second of all, is that all you know about FND is that it might, so um, I mean, I think being a middle-aged menopausal woman didn't help. Truly, truly.
Truly, I know. I'm laughing, but
Yeah,
truly in this world.
yeah. I mean, I don't feel like I was ever really taken seriously. And, it's like nobody would do this to themselves on purpose. And to make a patient feel guilty does nothing towards empowering the patient. And, if my family had bought into that, I don't know where I'd be today because I beat myself up enough. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, and I think that there is a lot of research about FMD. And the neurologist I saw in Denver, the female, um, who actually has left that there and is in another state now, but she actually took videos so that she could present them to her team of 6 other neurologists. And, she was pretty certain it was FMD. And she watched videos I showed her of me, but she also had me walk and was able to, she knew enough about it to make it happen in her office also. And then um, she called me and said, we had our meeting, I presented it, and everybody agrees it's FND, and here's why. And I mean, after 11 and a half years, I knew it was FND, but if I had been new to it, I think that kind of approach where you've got a whole team of people saying, this is what it is, and this is the multidisciplinary approach would have been huge.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge. Yeah, saved 11 years
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
quite honestly, I'm just, and I see other people in the comments, that comment, um, it just kills my soul.
Oh,
And it is traumatic. It really
mhm,
is. And I just feel like I want to apologize for all healthcare professionals in the world that would say things like that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and unfortunately, it's not the first time
No,
that
and
that has.
sadly, he does talks on FMD nationwide and worldwide. So, you know, mm,
Buyer beware.
yeah,
Buyer
yeah,
beware. the
exactly.
the lesson of listening and believing the person, I think, is so profound.
Hmm.
People know if you believe them. People know if you don't believe them, right? And so that goes a very, very long way. And it's like we need a public service campaign to undo a lot of myths that are out
Yeah,
there.
and you do a good job with that. I just don't, if a neurologist has a mindset, they are not, and then they're much more interested in researching Parkinson's or something they can fix than they don't really even bother to read the literature on it, I don't think, you know.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, we'll still be out here on our soapboxes, Maureen.
Good, good.
What if one, clinician, actually, we have hundreds of people that are coming to our boot camp this week, and I'm so excited just for this reason. Like, if you could just take on one little thing of understanding FND and believing in people, like
Right.
half of the people won't continue to be traumatized in their doctor's
I
appointments. Um,
agree. Hmm.
so so yeah, that's great. And what what might you tell a person with FND who maybe is on the fence about doing a program like ours and is coming to you for
You
advice?
know, I would tell them they're worth it to do it. If they, and to not worry about the time, the money, the inconvenience to other people. Um, find a way to make it happen. I wrote my insurance company and they agreed there was no program in my state. So they agreed to pay it at least in network. I mean, it was a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, every little bit helped.
Mm-hmm.
And just to get over the guilt and the self-doubt and the this is your fault kind of a thing, and um, laugh. I mean, laugh as much as you can and do as much as you can. I mean, my adult children like had names for my weird little moves, or and they'd be like, "Oh, that's a new one." And I mean, you gotta laugh because it's frustrating as it is. It's also kind of ridiculous, sometimes. And focus on what you can do and what you can't do. Now, that's not to say I haven't had my moments of pity parties, but you just life goes on, and but if you get the chance to go to California, that would be, in my opinion, the number one way to do it. And if not, I think that the program that you're doing online is still amazing. But I think that for me, I would have a harder time letting all the other stuff in my house and my life go away. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Especially if you're working and doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can do a month about me in SoCal, I highly recommend it.
I love that. Well, I do really love this perspective that shifted. And I think this is true for many of us, dare I say, women who have not taken a lot of time to understand ourselves or care for ourselves. And it sounds like you really embraced that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is phenomenal. I think, again, I'm learning. I always say this, but I learn way more from you than I would on any textbook or any research article. And Maureen, I just find you a fountain of wisdom. I just want to bottle it up and take it with me. And so, good thing we're recording this interview so I could take you everywhere with me.
Oh, good.
So thank you. Yes, and I saw that you joined our FND membership, as have several people who have completed our programs, which is kind of nice. And the thing I love about it is now I can chat with you in a community or see you in class and things like
Right.
that, where I can't treat you as a physical therapist because I don't have my license in New Mexico or Colorado. And but we can stay in contact. So
Exactly. Yeah, and the classes, the online classes are wonderful. So, and the live classes are wonderful. So that alone is worth it.
Yeah. No, I missed the class this week and I heard it was so good. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to watch our sensory class. But your sensory assessment from, I think you said it was like, what was it, like 47% to 99%?
43%. Yeah.
43.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know we actually talk about some of those sensory assessments this week, and yours absolutely shifted and changed as your brain reorganized, which is so awesome.
Yeah, it was
And
one.
now you get to spend some more time with your grandkids and travel. I can't wait to hear about this Europe trip and walking the lakes.
Yeah.
So thank you, Maureen, so much for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thanks for all the work you do and everything you're changing the world of FND, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. So thank you.
Well, you just changed it a whole bunch by sharing your story. So thank you so much, Maureen, and I'll see you online in our community.
Okay. Bye,
All
everybody.
right.
Bye.
Bye.